Mr. Grayson for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the members of this panel and what they've done to highlight the failures of the ATS-DR. But I'd like to talk about a different circumstance that's come up that I think further underlines the situation. That is the situation that I'm talking about regarding Vieques, which is an island off the coast of Puerto Rico. Vieques is a beautiful place. Its economy is based on fishing and tourism, and for 62 years it served as a military testing ground for the Navy. And now it's the subject of a great debate concerning the accuracy of ATS-DR testing. The military used, among other weapons, chemicals such as napalm, Agent Orange, and depleted uranium in and around the waters of Vieques. In 2003, the Navy stopped that military testing, and the area has become a Superfund site because of the heavy presence of metals and toxins in the area. It's being cleaned up, but there's a lot of chemical residue that remains. There's dangerous levels of heavy metals and toxins that have shown up in the crabs, in the fish, in the goats, in the wild horses that roam the island, in the vegetation, and in the people who live there. The health statistics in Vieques show the consequence of those toxins compared to normal residents of Puerto Rico. Residents of Vieques have a 269% increased chance of cancer and a 73% increased chance of heart disease and many other health problems. Infant mortality in most of Puerto Rico is decreasing, but in Vieques it's increasing, and it's been increasing since 1980. And a 2001 study looking at the hair of the residents in Vieques showed that 73% of these human beings were contaminated with aluminum, and 30% of the children under 10 years old showed toxic levels of mercury. One of my constituents, Ruben Ojeda, a former fisherman in the area, told me that almost every person that he knows in Vieques has cancer, or a family member who has cancer or other serious illness. Ruben fished while the Navy dropped bombs around him, and he suffers from heart and respiratory diseases as well as deafness. His mother has anemia, high blood pressure, and diabetes. His uncle died of cancer, and several of his fellow fishermen have also died of cancer at young ages. In other words, in Vieques, heavy metal poisons the land and the water, and the population carries that poison in its bloodstream. And there is no debate about this anymore. But somehow, when this agency, ATS-DR, tested the area, it stated that the poisons in the fish and the crabs and the vegetation somehow pose no threat or no danger to the residents. This agency, which is supposed to protect our children from poisons at Superfund sites, actually wrote that it's safe to eat the seafood from the coastal waters and near-shore lands, and that residents have not been exposed to harmful levels of chemicals resulting from Navy training activities. These remarkable statements should not come as a surprise for anybody who actually knows this agency. It's famous for ignoring the dangers of formaldehyde in the trailers used by Katrina victims. And for that, the agency was publicly chided by its own chief toxicologist, who had been cut out of the loop after raising concerns about the scientific basis for the agency's analysis. In case after case documented in an excellent report put together by the Science Technology Oversight and Investigation Subcommittee, this agency has trivialized health concerns and failed to stop the ingestion of poison and the spreading of cancer. In other words, Vieques is not an isolated incident. There is a problem of leadership, structure, and agency culture. And from its inception in the early 1980s, this agency has fought with bureaucratic rivals, shortchanged science and public health, and as a result, it's let children be poisoned. And this too should come to us as no surprise, because the Reagan administration, which oversaw the creation of this agency, never found an environmental protection that it did not try to dismantle. Despite that origin, there's good and conscientious employees within the agency, and I'm hopeful that we can work to restructure this agency so that its leadership is committed to protecting the public from harm. This should at very least start with the acknowledgement that its work in Vieques is flawed, and it should start with a commitment to reassess that site and take into account the various independent studies which show elevated health risks in the area. You know, we try so hard as members of Congress to improve people's lives. But when I look at what has happened at Vieques, and I see all the health problems that Navy testing there has caused, and the health problems that have been perpetuated by the failure of this agency to do anything about it, I'm reminded of the Hippocratic Oath. Maybe the first thing we should try to do as members of Congress is very simple. The first thing that the government should try to do is very simple. First, do no harm. Thank you.